This afternoon I have prepared an imaginary summit, which is a global one. Therefore, I wish to address us. Kindly bear with me because I'm not able to have a global summit by myself unless I create an imaginary one. And that's why I have the global map to address everyone globally. Excellencies, heads of states and government, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we gather at a defining moment in human history. Our generation has inherited extraordinary scientific advancement, unprecedented connectivity, and remarkable economic capacity. Yet we also stand on the precipice of instability, where regional tensions between powerful nations, including the United States of America and Iran, remind us how fragile peace can be in a world saturated with weapons, mistrust, and unresolved grievances. Today I do not stand before you merely to warn of war, but I stand before you to propose the architecture of peace. The reality we must confront, that is number one. Modern warfare is no longer confined in battlefields. It moves through cyber networks, energy corridors, financial systems, satellites in orbits. They are autonomous machines guided by artificial intelligence, that is the AI. A missile launched in one region now shakes markets across continents. A cyber attack on one grid can darken cities thousands of miles away. A diplomatic miscalculation between two nations can ignite alliances and counter-alliances that may threaten global stability. The founders of the United Nations pledged to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. That promise must not remain ceremonial language in archives. It must become operational policy in our time. The cost of escalation. When nations escalate, civilians suffer fast. Development collapses. Refugee flows destabilize entire regions. Food insecurity spreads. Climate cooperation stalls. Extremism finds fertile grounds. No nation, large or small, is insulated from these consequences. Even the most powerful states cannot firewall themselves from economic contagion, cyber retaliation, or geopolitical fragmentation. The war in the 21st century is not a localized tragedy. It is a systematic shock. From deterrence to cooperative security. For decades, global security doctrine has relied on deterrence, the belief that overwhelming force prevents aggression. But deterrence without dialogue breeds permanent suspicion. Suspicion without transparency breeds escalation. Escalation without restraint breeds catastrophe. We must therefore evolve. We must move from security through fear to security through cooperation. This summit presents an opportunity to adopt a global ceasefire and peace architecture grounded in law, accountability, development, and moral clarity. The 4 pillars of silencing the guns by 2063, inspired by regional initiatives such as the African Union's Agenda 2063 vision, and aligned with global communities under the United Nations Charter and international treaties like the Treaty on the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons, we propose 4 global pillars. 1. Preventive diplomacy as a default policy. No military engagement should precede structured diplomatic engagement, and therefore we call for mandatory early warning mediation panels, automatic diplomatic summits when military mobilization exceeds defined threshold, restoration of direct communication channels between adversaries. War must become the absolute last resort, not the politically convenient one. Measurable arms reduction. Silencing the gun is not symbolic. It requires numbers, timelines, and verification. We therefore propose phased nuclear stockpile reductions, a global registry of autonomous weapon systems, transparent reporting of military expenditures, conversion incentives for arms industries transitioning the civilian production. The weapons that drain our budgets could instead power hospitals, schools, renewable energy grids, and climate resilience. Then we have regulating emerging technologies. The AI, which is artificial intelligence, must not become the new arms race frontier. We therefore call for a global AI and autonomous weapons convention. We also call for a ban on fully autonomous lethal systems without meaningful human oversight. We also need to have a cyber non-aggression pact protecting civilian infrastructure, and also which safeguards against the militarization of outer space. The innovation must serve humanity, not endanger it. We have development as security infrastructure. Peace is unsustainable in environments of inequality, unemployment, and exclusion. Therefore, we urge gradual reallocation of the percentage of global military expenditure toward development goals, investment in youth employment and civic engagement, support for fragile states through education and governance reform. We also need to have a climate adaptation funding to prevent resource conflicts. Security is not built only with the soldiers. It is built with the teachers, engineers, doctors, and mediators. Reforming multilateral institutions. The credibility of global governance depends on fairness and effectiveness. The United Nations Security Council must therefore adapt a multipolar reality. We therefore encourage constructive dialogue on veto restraint during active conflicts, expanded representation, strengthened General Assembly oversight on peace enforcement mandates, and also reform is not a threat to sovereignty. It is a reinforcement to legitimacy. Youth and future generations. By 2063, today's youth will lead nations. They will lead institutions and also lead communities. If we fail to institutionalize peace now, we pass them inherited instability. We must therefore include youth representation in peace negotiations. We also need to expand civic exchange programs and also institutionalize peace education in national curriculum. Silencing the gun is not only a diplomatic project, it is a generational responsibility. No border can contain nuclear fallout. No ideology can shield a child from a missile. No political doctrine justifies perpetual war. Coexistence is not idealism, it is survival. History will not judge us by strength of our arsenal, but by the wisdom of our restraint. And therefore, the call for action today is, let this summit declare: 1. A renewed global commitment to ceasefire principles. 2. Roadmap for measurable arms reduction. 3. A timeline for negotiating emerging technology safeguards. 4. A pledge to reallocate resources towards development. 5. A collective target, which is silencing the guns worldwide by 2063. Let this not be another communique filed away in diplomatic archives. Let it be remembered as the moment when world leaders chose courage over calculation, cooperation over confrontation, and humanity over hostility. And therefore, Excellencies, we were not placed on this earth to dominate one another. We were entrusted with the stewardship of land, of technology, of power, and of one another's dignity. Let us leave this summit having made a decision worth of that trust. Let future generations say, in a time of rising tensions, they chose peace. In an age of powerful weapons, they chose wisdom. When the world stood divided, they chose unity. The guns can fall silent, but only if we decide together that they must fall silent. I thank you.